Today's video focuses on a popular character who never was. Throughout the years, tales of this robot master have been passed down from fan to fan. I am Rockman HQ and I'll be your guide on the basics to this legendary boss who was cut and never returned. Bondman. If you have never heard of Bondman, that isn't too shocking. Technically, he doesn't exist. His story was revealed in the manga, The Men Who Created Rockman, the Rockman birth legend. This story is about the initial development of Rockman, showing how elements that would become staples to the series came to be. Part of this is Bondman. During conception, the game was originally going to have 8 robot masters. As things progressed, limits on the game's size became an issue. It was ultimately decided that the game would go from 8 robot masters to 6, freeing up space for music tracks, boss sprites, and special weapon data. However, at the time of this decision, 7 robot masters had been made, sprites and all. Bondman was set to be struck as a concept only. Upon this information becoming public, many have asked about Bondman, and in interviews, we've gotten an idea as to what he would be like. Bondman was going to give Rockman a power that would freeze enemies in place, a trait that was passed over to the Ice Slasher. It was said that any art and or sprites of Bondman were lost to time, so manga artist Artical designed Bondman based off Infune's description. When shown, Infune said it was basically like that idea. Looking at Arical's design, we can tell that Bondman was based on a tube of superglue, and his helmet being the cap, with his arms being actual tubes of adhesive. In the manga, there's even a panel of Infune working on the sprites of Bondman, giving us a closer idea as to what he would have looked like in-game. Many years later, Bondman had a glimmer of hope of escaping the scrapped realm he was glued to. Mega Man Powered Up entered development, a remake of the very first Mega Man game. However, this time, it would have 8 stages and more. While one scrapped concept from the first game, Oil Man, made it in, the other was a new creation, Time Man. In an interview, Infune stated the following: "I thought about reviving Bondman, but it was a little tough. What we could present in Mega Man Powered Up was a little different than the time I created Bondman, so rather than throwing him in hastily, I decided to leave Bondman as the legend he is, and I created 2 new characters instead." Unfortunately, that seemed to be the end of Bondman lore. However, June 11th, 2023, Capcom opened up a museum for their various IPs. These included all sorts of documents of art, music, production sketches, and even playable games. Of these things shown, we got our first look at the real Bondman. This sketch here appears to be the bare-bone visual aids showing just a stage select screen. Here we can make out a little tube of toothpaste? Nah, likely super glue, with a goofy face on it. It's not much. But fear not, as later on we got a more detailed, kind of, look at the 007 unit. Here we see him still as a tube, but with a face that's kind of like the end of the tube, and with the cap for a nose? For a beak? Is he a duck? I don't know, you decide. Being as all these robot masters look incomplete, it's hard to say how much transferred over to the finished product. As well, we see him holding some sort of a pick. Pages later show off how the bosses would battle, and we get a look at the bonding agent. That pig is actually a propeller, which seems he would use to fly above Mega Man. And upon defeating him, Mega Man would get his special weapon, which would shoot a glob of glue down and freeze enemies who stepped on it in place. As well, players would get the propeller, which Mega Man could use by double jumping and hover in the air, and then move while airborne. While this item was also scrapped, it would seem that the magnet beam became its spiritual successor. And that's really all there is on the Robot Master who wouldn't be. While pitted to the scrap heap, he stuck around in many fans' hearts. He holds his own place in the fandom, from fan art to being in fan games. Even Archie Comics brought him up as an incomplete robot of Dr. Light. Maybe one day we'll get to see him in a game. Or maybe reborn as a net navvy? Only time will tell.